This morning we are blessed by someone who is not new to Unity on the Bay. In fact, she first arrived here in 1995, but what a life she's been living over the past several years. Our guest speaker is no stranger to Unity on the Bay. She was a member of our community before moving to California. Today, she is an international speaker and author of the acclaimed book, Live Your Happy. A Cuban-American born in Miami, she has been a successful model and actress whose experience included hosting the World Wrestling Federation on television. So I hope you like her, but if you don't give her a hard time, because she probably knows exactly how to handle you. She later felt an inner calling toward ministerial studies and was ordained by Pathways of Light, an accredited school inspired by one of my favorite books, A Course in Miracles. She leads monthly services in English at Unity Church in Burbank, California. If you love what she has to say, and I know you will, plan on returning today at 1:30 for her workshop right next door in the Government Chapel. Please help me give a warm welcome back and welcome home to Maria Felipe.
Just taking that in still. Thank you, Reverend Chris. Thank you for having me. Thank you, everyone. I just feel that motherly love. Do you feel it? Yes. Let's just close our eyes as we take that love in right now. Just take a deep breath. Just take the energy of this space in with you. It's such a beautiful energy. We're vibrating right now with this love. And close your eyes as you open your heart this morning to this message. Because we're so worthy of this message. We're so willing to receive this message this morning. So I invite you to declare it out loud. I am love.
I am love.
And I am willing.
And I am willing.
Amen.
Amen.
Let me open your eyes. So, I am willing. I just love that statement. In the Course in Miracles, it says, all we need is a little bit of willingness and miracles happen. I always like to say big willingness. You need to have big willingness because this world is really something, right? We just need that big willingness. And where I really found my big willingness, my desire to thrive, my desire, my passion, my foundation was Unity on the Bay. And that's something I have to talk to you about this morning and my story behind being here and the honor that I feel being here. Not only because I feel like it's my homecoming, but it's because I'm also a mother of a 1-year-old. His name is Ari. And it's very moving to be here as a mother and also to be here coming from Unity on the Bay. And it all starts back in 1995, around there. And I walk in, and my mom is Catholic. I was raised Catholic, and my dad is Presbyterian, so I went to both faiths. And my parents never made me decide what religion to have. They allowed me to choose. And they said, well, as you get older, you can choose if you want to be Catholic, if you want to be Presbyterian. And I decided just not to choose anything for a while. And my brother lived in front of Unity on the Bay, where you guys were before on 2121 building. And he brought me to Unity on the Bay. And I'm sure many of you could identify with this and can resonate with this. I walk in, and I felt like I was home. There was no crosses on the walls. I was like, where is the crosses? People from all walks of life, all different colors, all different races, boys with boys, girls with girls, girls with boys, all kinds of people, all unity, no judgment, no separation. Unity, oneness. And I walk in and I was so inspired. It was Reverend Trapp. And I came in and I was so lost. So lost. I was so searching for God. And what that looked like for me, I didn't know. But I know that his words were so soothing and so comforting. I remember also after that, Reverend Tita Calzada. I would walk in and she would warm me with her words. And I would remember her while I was at the grocery store. Does this happen to you when you hear one of Reverend Chris's messages that you're inspired and you just think about him? You're like, well, he said this, I can do this. And then my last 6 months in Miami, because I went to go pursue my career in acting in LA, I remember walking in and listening to Reverend Chris. And I was so moved and so touched by his words. I remember at the time I was dating a French guy, and he was next to me. And I was crying. I was crying because Reverend Chris's message was so moving. And he says, "Baby, why are you crying?" I said, "He's so good. Isn't he good?" Did you guys feel like that sometimes, that you're like crying and you're like, you invite somebody, you're like, "Don't you like it? Aren't you inspired?" This message is like no other. Literally. It moves your life. It has, the reason I'm standing right here right now and giving testimony to that is because it is really something. It's a beautiful teaching. You know, Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, there's this book called The Story of Unity. And within it, it talks about Charles Fillmore and how he was a big teacher about joy and happiness. And how he would say that happiness is our divine right. And Course in Miracles also says this, that happiness is our divine right, that happiness is our inheritance, that happiness is our function. And this is the truth. The time has come. The time has come for us to live our happy, because why not? We've been living the opposite for so long, yes? We need to start to undo this egoic thought system in our mind that is eating us up and it's killing our happy. So the egoic thought system is this. So we have, the egoic thought system is fear, and we have love, which is the opposite. Fear and love. And we're constantly discerning and choosing between both thought systems. What happens is that, I don't know if you've got the memo, but we are egoholics. Right? We're egoholics. Now, what is an egoholic? Well, it's like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? It's like the egoic mind. We're so addicted to this fearful part of our mind. We're so addicted to thinking we're limited. We're so addicted to our stories, our interpretations of stories, our judgments, not taking responsibility, our lack of forgiveness. This runs the show in our lives. So we need to start to realize and be honest about that. Hey, you know what? I am an egoholic. But you know what? I want to change. I want my sponsor. I need my sponsor. My sponsor is the Holy Spirit. My sponsor is my inner wisdom. My sponsor is my inner friend, my best friend, whatever word resonates with you. And Charles Fillmore in Unity teaching teaches that to us by our affirmations, by our prayer work. That's how we connect to that inner sponsor to ask for help, because we can't do it alone. And trust me, if you try to do it alone, you are going to fall on your face. Funny, right? Juan's always giggling. The first service, it was the same thing. Good. You know, it's true. It's like we need the help of our inner teacher to guide the way. And I need to remind myself all the time. You see, when you're an egoholic, you need to choose your sponsor all the time, every day. And you need to ask for help daily. Not only daily, you know, every hour. Not only every hour, every second. Why? Because we're constantly forgetting who we are in truth. Can you guys relate to this? About believing and living in your separated self, of believing that your problem is really there and it's really happening. I had this funny thing that happened to me with my son last night, of where I started to realize my ego chatter, how it was eating me up. Now, we're at the hotel and we're about to go to bed, and I'm thinking, I really need to get to sleep because tomorrow is a big day, right? Can you guys all relate to this? You know, you have a big day, you have a big meeting, and I need to sleep. So my son is going to go to sleep early. So I start the whole routine. We take out the pack and play. I get the milk ready, and we are ready. He's going to do what he does back in California. He's going to go to sleep, and he's going to let me rest. So my husband and I, the first thing my husband says, we're in bed, and he starts using my teachings on me. And he says, I said, I think the baby's going to fall asleep now. And he says, babe, don't have any expectations. And I was like, and all of a sudden, when he says that, I hear the baby. I hear like a sound, like a jumping sound. I'm like, who is jumping? Because mind you, him and I are on the bed laying down like this with the lights off, praying for the baby to fall asleep. All of a sudden, he's just jumping up and down on the thing, and I hear him, and he starts laughing. And it's 10:30, and I need to get to bed, because I need to show up here and kick butt, right? So I'm like, I need to be ready for this. So this is when the egoic thought system comes in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here believing that this is such a big deal, and I need to get to sleep because I have something to do today, because I need to be perfect or whatever it is, right? But what I remember is that that's not true. What I remember in the moment when my child is jumping up and down is how in gratitude I am because of his joy. And it's okay if I go to sleep a little bit later. And it doesn't matter, because me as a speaker, as a reverend, minister, teacher, it doesn't define me. God defines me. God defines me. So you know what? It's time to have fun now. It's Mother's Day, so I'm going to have fun with this. And baby, if you want to be up to 1 a.m. and you want to dance salsa, that's fine. Let's do that. The time has come. You know, the time has come to stop believing these stories in our mind and start believing the story that God loves us. The time has come to stop not trusting ourselves, not trusting our inner wisdom. Because we're always guided by this foolish voice, and it's telling me, oh my God, I need to get to bed early. Well, no, not really. Who says? You know, sometimes things are not going to be perfect. You see? And I'm going to tell you my little story about how I became a mother, because it has everything to do with the lesson today. And maybe many women here that have been wanting to be mothers could identify with this. Back when I was in my mid-30s, I started to feel this longing to be a mother and this calling to be a mother. And I was single at the time, so there was nobody really to, become that mother with at this time. And I had a previous marriage, so I was choosing to be alone and find my self-love, because I was addicted to being in relationships and losing myself in the relationship. Can many of you relate to this? It's like, I love it how everybody's like, yes. We're egoholics, yes. Right? So I was addicted to that person, and basically that person needs to make me happy. Not only that, everything outside of me needs to make me happy. So what happens is that I start to look, since I didn't have somebody I was spending my life with, I decided to look into getting a sperm donor and being a single mother. And I just went to going to look into it, to going to the doctor, and all of a sudden the doctor has convinced me that I need to do this right away because my eggs are getting old. So I go from going to be like, oh, let me see, to, oh, I'm going to do this, because then what happens is we're so run by fear. Right, ladies and gentlemen? It's like, I'm not only fearful, but the doctor's fearful. You know? Right? So for me, it was like, it was a moment of where I was like, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I decided, wow, okay, wait a second. I know I'm an egoholic, and I know that I'm thinking that my happiness is in being a mother, and my happiness is I need to make this happen. And I started to see how I was trying to manipulate and force this decision. Yes, I could have done it, but at the time I just felt that it wasn't flowing. I felt that it was coming from fear because I was getting older and I needed to be a mother. What about if I could have adopted? Right? So every day in my life, I'm given the opportunity to practice. I'm given the opportunity to walk my talk, because the time has come to live our happy. It means to embody these teachings. We're done with the analytical, we're done with the studying. Yes, we could study, but come on, let's get to work. And this is where the work happens, is in our daily life. When I decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to trust. I'm going to trust that if I'm supposed to be a mother, I will be in this lifetime. And I'm going to let go of trying to make this happen. And just trust in this process and see what comes to me. Thank God that the universe always works for you. Always works for you. And a year later, I'm doing a retreat in Pacific Palisades in California. I'm one of the presenters. And there's a soul sitting all the way in the corner. And as I walk in, I'm late. And he at this time, he has a bun in his hair because he had long hair. And I look and I was like, oh my God, I feel this person. This person's my soulmate, my twin flame. I feel like we've had many lifetimes together. It was that instant. It turns out that we have a connection. And a month later, we got engaged. And a week later, we got married. Yes. And it gets better. It's like una novela, right? And 2 months later, we get pregnant. Oh. Thank you. So much for the sperm donor, right? It's like in life, it works for you. Honey, get up and just show your face. This is Christian, everybody, my husband. And a real quick story. It makes me cry just saying this. I said to him, because I really long to be a mother, everyone, and he had a big issue with it just because, not an issue, but he's younger, so he's like, I could wait like 2 years. I was like, you can't wait that long, right? I said to him, I always say to him, I always ask him, why did you give me a child? Like, why did you have a baby with me so soon, even though you didn't want to? And what do you say? Because you wanted one. We know, what a beautiful selfless thing. He's like, I know, I wanted you to be my wife, and you wanted that. You know? So to this day, I still think about that, because in life, we're given these opportunities with our spiritual practice to really trust. And I feel like one of the ways that we live our happy is to really trust that we're so taken care of by God, that we're so taken care of by the universe source, by that Christ self that lived in Jesus, lives in each and every one of us. And our inheritance is happiness, and our function is happiness. And I live a happy life because of that choice every single day when I get up in the morning. And what happens is that we're so taught in the world that being unhappy is actually normal. Yes, fear's normal, depression's normal, you know, health issues are normal, depression is normal. Like, this is just a normal thing in life. Well, you know what I'm here to remind you this morning is, what about the opposite about that? How about the opposite of that? How about the opposite of that? We have to start to change the egoic thought system in our mind. How about the opposite? You know, when I was on book tour, and when my book first came out, I had podcasts ask me, podcast interviews sometimes, they would ask me, so can you be happy all the time? That was like a trick question, you know? Are you saying we could be happy all the time? But they don't know that in my book, I'm not talking about cheerleader happiness, rah, rah, rah. I'm talking about happiness regardless of what's going on in form. That's the happiness I'm talking about. It's a happiness that's not dependent on anything outside of you. That's what I'm talking about. The time has come. Yes? Yes. So I say, when they ask me, can you be happy all the time? What do you think I say? Yes. Yes, absolutely. Why? Because it's our inheritance and it is our function. Altogether, happiness is my inheritance. And happiness is my function. Happiness is my function. I like it. One more time. Happiness is my inheritance. Happiness is our inheritance. And happiness is my function. Happiness is my function. The time has come to start living that, even if we don't want to. Why? Because sometimes you say you want to, but not really. Right? I want to change, but I still want to not forgive, you know? I want love, but I still want to look for love outside of myself. Right? So what I said what I said is like, yes, you could be happy all the time. Why? Because it's your inheritance. It never goes away from you. You're always under the happy umbrella. Yes, you might forget who you are for a hot second and be like, oh my God, I'm believing in this dream. I'm believing in this problem. I'm believing that the doctor said such and such thing right now. But the truth is that your thinking and your belief and value system is there. It's in a dream world. But the truth of God is always there waiting for you. And that's what unity taught me. I can believe cualquier basura, right? Cualquier caca. Yes, I did. In English it doesn't sound good, so I say it in Spanish. Okay? Okay, that stuff that's in our mind, right? Esa caca. Again, right? Because it's so delusional, it's so disturbing. I mean, the things I think sometimes, I'm like, seriously, Maria, stop it. It's too much. Por favor. Right? It's like, it's too much. Tiki, 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 tiki. Cállate. The time has come. Right? And so what happens is that you're under the happiness umbrella, so you could just say stop it. You have every right to say stop it. You don't need to continue to tolerate your littleness. You don't need to continue to tolerate the nonsense that your mind says. Why? Because we know better now. You know, Reverend Chris and I were talking about it. The time has come to start to be this message, to come here on Sundays, and every single word that you hear out of these ministers, whoever is inspiring you, you want to act upon it and live it fully, without exception, without compromise. The time has come. It takes something. It takes something. It takes discipline. It takes dedication. People are saying, Maria, you live such a great life. Well, you know what? I worked it. I went to those places that was super uncomfortable. I went back in time and healed relationships that were kicking my butt throughout my whole life, and I couldn't experience love because I felt that because my father committed suicide and that he abandoned me. And I would feel that every single man in my life was going to abandon me. We need to start healing these wounds. I always say you got to feel it to heal it. You got to feel it to heal it, because within the feeling you get to wake up. So I invite you to start to look at your life and see, where are you compromising? Where are you making those exceptions? Of Course in Miracles says we're too okay with mind wandering. We need to start to be disciplined in our practice and start to embody it fully with your relationship with yourself, with your relationship with others. How are you being in this world, in this life? I'm moved by every single one of you, because it takes something to do this work. When I walked into Unity, I said, wow, this is going to take something. I went to the 4T program. I went to all the prayer groups, and I was like, oh my goodness, this takes something, because it's so long with the egoic thought system, with the egoholicism for so long, that we need to start to remember again who we are, and it takes that sponsor, the Holy Spirit in our mind, that divine sponsor that brings us back. So yes, we could be happy all the time. Why? Because the time has come. Don't you agree? The time has come for us to wake up every day and start to have more peace, and start to have more happiness, and start to have more joy. And that's what Charles Fillmore was all about. This church was built on that. So when you come here on Sundays, I invite you to go out those doors and start to embody the teachings. And what does that look like? You begin to forgive, even if you don't want to. Why? Because trust me, you're going to feel better. Right? You want to go out there and you want to take responsibility for your life, for your perceptions. Did you guys know that, it's not about the problem. Problems are problems. It's just how you perceive that problem. That's the problem. Because how you perceive the problem is what's going to give you your experience. It's neutral. The Course in Miracles say it's neutral. Even Unity would say it's the power of your mind and what value you're giving to it, what belief system you're giving to it. So you start to see, you start to have fun with your problems. You're like, oh my God, this problem is not going to have dominion over me. God is bigger than this. One last thing to close. I was thinking about Mother's Day and my son, and how I'm so loving with him, and how I'm so caring for him and teaching him, and I'm so patient and kind and dedicated to my son. And I was thinking the other day, as I was coming over here to speak to you all, and I was thinking, wow, why don't we start to be like that with ourselves? Why don't we start to give that motherly love to ourselves? Like how you would be with a child, to start to be like that with you. To start to be trusting with yourself, loving with yourself, caring with yourself. All that motherly love, give it to yourself, because we're so hard on ourselves, yes? So hard on ourselves. We say such crazy things to ourselves. The time has come. The time has come. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Reverend Chris. Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Faith. Thank you to every single one of you. Did you take in this message this morning? Thank you. you with this. The time has come to live our inheritance, which is happiness. The time has come to live our happiness, which is our function. The time has come. No more compromise and no more exceptions. The time has come. Thank you, everyone.